I feel like, oh, is that too controversial to say? I just think it's so pointless and so stupid and quite frankly a little bit embarrassing. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, hope you're doing well. Literally the minute anything hits social media, people argue about it. Anything you upload, any opinion that you put out there, people are going to have a problem with it. So I feel like today I'm going to entice that even further and react to some of your unpopular bookish opinions and just see what horrible things you guys have to say. A couple of days ago I put up an Instagram story asking everyone for their unpopular bookish opinions and I got some good responses. So I've written the ones, you know, the most popular ones down and I'm going to discuss them in today's video. But just quickly, first of all, I just want to say that if you want to get involved in videos like this, then definitely follow my Bookstagram because I post stories all the time of like things that you can get involved in for videos and stuff like that. So just thought I'd give a little promotion there. But let's get on with the video. So I feel like this one isn't really an unpopular opinion, but it's short chapters over long chapters. And to be honest, I completely agree. I feel like that isn't really that unpopular in this community. I don't know why. Every single person that I see on social media right now prefers short chapters over long chapters. There's nothing worse than sitting and just reading and reading and reading and not knowing when the chapter's going to end. Obviously, if you're enjoying the book that you're reading, you probably don't really think about it, but when you're not really enjoying a book, you're like, when's this chapter going to end? When's this chapter going to end? And then you check, don't you? Like, I literally check it all the time. I'm like, how many pages is left in this chapter? And it's like 10 more pages and I'm like, oh, please. Hate it. But honestly, I completely agree. I do prefer short chapters over long chapters. The next one is I hate hardbacks, but I hate waiting for paperbacks to come out, which don't even get me started. I completely agree. I'm not a hardback girl. As you can see, I say it all the time on this channel. I'm a paperback girly. And I recently got, hold on, some book mail and I was so scared that it was going to come in a hardback, but it's not. I can feel that it's a paperback. I haven't actually opened it yet. I'm going to open it after this video. But honestly, and for example, Emily Henry's new release, Happy Place, I am dying to read that book. I really want to read it. She's one of my favourite authors ever. I've been waiting for Happy Place to come out literally for years, well, months, and I'm not buying the hardback. I literally refuse, so I'm going to buy it on my Kindle. I feel like us Kindle girlies, you know, we sort of have an advantage here. If we don't want to buy a book in hardback, we can get it on the Kindle. So best believe I'm going to be buying Happy Place on my Kindle and then buying the paperback when it comes out. I know a couple of people have actually got the paperback when they got it from Book Depository, but obviously that's shut down now. So that's sad. We can't actually get it from there anymore. Also, I just want to say, Emily Henry normally does release her books in paperback first. So whoever gave her the bright idea to release this one only in hardback, why did you do that? Literally, who are you? I'm mad. Okay, this one's kind of juicy and I feel like I'm gonna contradict, I don't know, but it's romance books set unrealistic standards for relationships. And do you know what, in some senses I do kind of agree. I think it does, you know, sort of shape an unrealistic standard because, you know, men are bringing flowers all the time and being overly nice and just being these happy, sunshine, lovely people. And obviously some men are like that, like my fiance Riley, he's amazing. But I don't know, I feel like I kind of disagree with this because I feel like romance books teach women how they should be treated, if that makes sense. It doesn't really set unrealistic standards. I feel like personally, you know, if you are in a more toxic relationship and then you read a nice romance book, you're probably thinking, wow, this is how I should be getting treated. So I feel like it doesn't really set an unrealistic standard. Maybe sometimes it does, but if you're just looking at the bog standard normal romance, then I feel like that should give you a motivation of what your relationship should be like, because my relationship literally is like a romance book. Like, I'm not just saying that, I'm not going to try and be cringy and stuff like that, but I literally have the cutest friends to lovers relationship. Like, hello. It's not that unrealistic. Like, honestly, if I could tell you guys my full relationship story, I would, but none of you probably really care. But do you know what? I just feel, I don't know, I just feel like it does. It teaches people how they should be treated. So I kind of disagree with that. Obviously, there are some people that will not get treated like that, will not, sadly not have those relationships, but I feel like if you read them and you're like, this is so unrealistic, it's really not. Obviously, like, there are some things in books that are like, okay, that's a bit much, but you know, when you read a nice happy romance book and the man treats her really well and she's really happy and, you know, they treat each other with respect and they have boundaries in their relationship and stuff like that, like, that's not that unrealistic. That's how a relationship should be. So I disagree with that personally.
The next one I can't really give much of. So the next one I can't really give much of. The next one I can't really give much of.
Oh my god, can't speak. The next one I can't really give much of an opinion on because I haven't actually read the book, but it was Archer's Voice is the most boring book ever, and the person who put this DNF the book, and obviously I haven't read it, so I can't give you that much of an opinion, but I have heard quite mixed reviews on it. Some people have said it's their favourite book ever, and some people have said the same as you, really, really boring. So I don't actually know where I stand on that. I do plan on reading it, so obviously when I do, I'll give you like a proper rating and review and see what I think, but I don't know. The next one is I don't like second chance romance, and to be honest I don't completely disagree, but only because I'm really, really new to the trope. So I recently read Funny You Should Ask, which is a second chance romance book, and to be honest I don't think I've really read, I think I've only read a couple of second chance romance books, so I'm not really overly confident on talking about the trope because I don't really know much about it. I haven't read enough to give my actual opinion, but I did really enjoy Funny You Should Ask. I think One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid is a second chance romance. Yeah, it is. Obviously there have been other books that I've read in second chance romance, but I haven't read enough to give you a full opinion. However, the books that I have read, I have really enjoyed. But as you guys know, I'm not even going to say it. Okay, I'm going to say it. I'm not really a friends to lovers kind of person. I'm more of an enemies to lovers kind of person. But obviously with second chance romance books, there's that friends to lovers kind of aspect in it. Obviously different books have different things. So it could be straight up friends to lovers within a second chance kind of romance. I don't know. It depends on how the situation kind of works. But if it's a friends to enemies to lovers second chance romance or something, then I'll probably enjoy it a lot more because there's that kind of like argument enemy kind of vibe. However, the one thing I will say though, I think I mentioned it in one of my most recent videos, when I read Funny You Should Ask, I said that there wasn't really much of a chance of a third act breakup. So as you guys know, in normal romance books everything will be smooth sailing, and then about 3/4 of the way through they'll have some sort of conflict, some sort of argument, and Funny You Should Ask didn't have that because it was a second chance romance, so they were sort of iffy from the start and then everything happens. That's the one thing that I like second chance romances for. There's not really much room for that third act breakup because third act breakups can be quite annoying, I can't lie. There's nothing worse than when everything's finally going smoothly and then something happens and then they just argue. I'm like, please. So the next one is toxic men in books are good when done properly, and to be honest, I can completely agree, and I feel like it sort of relates back to what I was saying about the romance book thing. So obviously not everyone is going to be this happy-go-lucky person, and there are a lot of toxic men out there, unfortunately, that, you know, treat women badly, and I feel like toxic men can be a little bit iffy in books because obviously they're treating women really badly, objectifying them, you know, not being a very nice person, and then they suddenly end up together. Like, I'm happy for an enemies to lovers, you know that, but toxic enemies to lovers is a little bit different because it is a little bit more unrealistic. Like, if a man was genuinely talking to me like a piece of crap, you know, and just completely objectifying me and completely being rude, do you think I'd sleep with him? No, no I would not. Obviously I'm engaged, but you get the point. It just wouldn't happen. Obviously toxic men in books, normally they get to the point where they hate each other, then they sort of get protective of the girl. That's like kind of my favourite thing, where they're not together, but they kind of get that little protective aspect to them. So I recently read Twisted Love in one of my recent videos and really, really enjoyed the book. Literally was a 5-star for me, and Alex is a little bit toxic. I feel like people don't really know that going into Twisted Love. The main male character is a toxic character. It got to that middle ground of the book where he started feeling a bit more protective of her, but still didn't want to be with her or whatever. They both fancied each other, and oh my god, it was just so good because he was like getting protective of her, but also was like, if you touch her, you die. Like, that was good. That is the best part of toxic men, is if you touch her, you die trope, because I just think it's funny and cool, and it's like, oh my god. This one's a little bit controversial. This one, I don't know if people are going to agree or disagree with this, but it's You and Me on Vacation, or People We Meet on Vacation, they're the same thing, is Emily Henry's worst book. Are you going to be mad at me if I say that I agree? I severely agree. Do you know what? It wasn't my favourite of her books. Book Lovers is and will always be my top Emily Henry book. I don't know, I haven't read Happy Place yet, as you guys know. Hopefully that one will take first place as well, but for now Book Lovers is my favourite, and then Beach Read, enjoyed that. But then there's You and Me on Vacation. I didn't mind it, it was a good book, but again, it's childhood friends to lovers second chance romance. I can't even remember, but I don't know, I just feel like it was really, really long-winded. And do you know what I found? Obviously they went on vacation every single year of their lives, then they fell out and stopped going on vacation, and then they met on vacation again. But I feel like the reason that they fell out was literally not even that big of a deal. Is that bad to say? Like, Obviously, if they had like this big conflict and it was worth falling out over, fair enough. But I feel like there was this whole build up to the book where, you know, you found out what went wrong and what they argued about, and it's like, oh my god. But it wasn't even that big of a deal. I mean, it was still a good book, People We Meet on Vacation, but I just didn't overly love it. I feel like, you know, it was good, but if I had to rank it, it would be the bottom of my list. So I agree with that personally. So the next one is rich men are overdone in books. And to be honest, I don't really know. It's the same thing with second chance romance. I haven't read enough of the rich man trope to give an opinion on it. So as I just said, I did just read Twisted Love. The main male character has money, but it wasn't really like a full front focus of the plot, whereas for example the Billionaire series by Lauren Asher, I believe, I haven't even read that yet, but I feel like that's quite a present trope in that book, the fact that they're all billionaires and have money. I don't actually know, I mean, I haven't read them, so I don't know, but I don't know, I feel like I haven't read enough rich men to give my opinion of where they're overdone. However, I feel like the trope is quite large in the community, so maybe it is overdone, but obviously personally I haven't picked up many books that have that trope, so I don't know about that one personally. But I feel like if you have read a lot of them, by the time you're on your like 10th rich man book, you're probably thinking, there's only so much of this I can take. This one makes me feel physically ill, like actually feel like vomiting, and it is real people on book covers. I hate it. I actually can't even begin to think. I don't even mind if they're like, their faces aren't in it. So if it's like a picture of them like with the back of their head, I mean, it's okay, it's not the best, but I'll take that, that's fine. But when it's some bloody man posing like this with his abs hanging out, like, disgusting. Literally, get out. Do you think I want to read that in public? Absolutely not. I would rather actually die than take that on the train with me. For example, I'm going to give you an example, I'm going to put it on screen, the alternate covers to the Twisted Love book. I feel like I've spoken about Twisted Love so much in this video, I'm so sorry, but I really enjoyed it. But there's the cute little blue cover, which is really, really cute, and then there's the other covers that literally just have men just standing there like... And it's disgusting. I literally can't even think about it. So if you are thinking of buying me a book, try and steer clear of the men on the covers, because I hate it. I'll have to buy the book on my Kindle and just read it on that, because I just, nah, no thank you. There's two more here about books that I haven't read, so I'm just going to get these ones quickly done. And it's The Spanish Love Deception was boring, and I did not enjoy the Magnolia Park series, and both of which are on my TBR. Spanish Love Deception is on my physical TBR. Magnolia Parks I'll probably read on my Kindle, but I feel like The Spanish Love Deception is such a love-hate book. I haven't personally read it, so I can't really give my opinion yet. I plan on reading it this summer. And the Magnolia Park series, again, I've heard 50-50 reviews. I've heard more hype about the Magnolia Park series personally, but Spanish Love Deception I have heard my fair share of hate on. So I'm not actually too sure about either, because obviously I haven't read them. But personally, do I trust the bookish community? Everyone loves Magnolia Parks. So I've got two here that relate, and I have already briefly spoken about it in this video, but it is Enemies to Lovers is the best trope, and Friends to Lovers I don't really like. And do I even have to say it? I completely agree with you. Again, I like Friends to Lovers. I don't hate Friends to Lovers. I just think it is a little bit more boring than an Enemies to Lovers. I feel like with Enemies to Lovers you get that first meeting point and, or whatever, you know, a chance for them to have a little bicker and then they start falling in love and stuff, whereas Friends to Lovers, I just, you know what, even in Enemies to Lovers, I just hate that point of the book, you know, like where they've started liking each other but they're enemies, so they don't want to tell each other that they like each other, so they're like, I hate you but I actually secretly fancy you and I can't say. And in Friends to Lovers it's like, oh my god, we've been best friends for like 10 years, I really don't want to tell him that I love him. Like that bit in books, when they start fancying each other but won't say anything, miscommunication, I cannot stand it in any book. Enemies to Lovers even has it. Just tell them. Only because in real life I would never have the balls to go up to someone and be like, yeah, I like you. Do you know what I mean? I would never. But I feel like in books, when you're reading it, it's so much more long-winded, so you're like, just say it, say it, say it. Do you know what I mean? That's why I hate miscommunication. Like, if you've got a problem, just say it. Like, I've got other books to read. Tell him you like him. Please, dear God. I feel like I'm going to get hated for the next one, but it is that Colleen Hoover, Coho, does not deserve the hate she gets. I am an avid reader of Colleen Hoover, I won't lie. I have loved and rated 5-star to some of her books. I personally really like her as an author. Her casting choices of her film, don't agree with, But the actual books I don't think are bad. Obviously they're not like the most top tier, best written books. They are sort of a Wattpad vibe, but I'd rather read an easy book. Do you think I want to read a book that's hard to read? I won't enjoy it if it's hard to read. If it's an easier, more, you know, like a less mature writing style, I could eat that up in a day. So I don't see what the problem is with people saying that about her writing personally. I feel like everyone's like, it's literally written like a child wrote it. Okay, then don't read it then. Like, if you don't like it, then fair enough. And oh my god, I've got a story. I feel bad saying it, but I was at work the other day. I'm literally friends with this girl, so I love her to pieces. I'm not even going to say her name, but the other day we were talking about books. She didn't really know I was a reader, and she went, "What books do you read?" Because I was talking about romance books. She went, "What romance books do you read?" Please don't say Colleen Hoover. Sorry? Like, obviously, yes, I have read Colleen Hoover books, but one, you're acting like she's the only author I've ever read. And two, who cares if it was? Who cares if the only author I've ever read is Colleen Hoover? I'm still reading. And obviously, I feel like a Colleen Hoover book is a perfect way to start because they are the easy read. They're a really good way for readers to get into reading. I know a lot of people that got into reading because of It Ends With Us, and now they've got a whole bookshelf full of, you know, other books. I mean, personally, I got into reading because of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. It wasn't a Colleen Hoover book. Ugly Love was my first Colleen Hoover book, and it enticed me to read the rest of them. And I think I've only got one left of her books now. Obviously, there is that side note of everything that happened with her son. Apparently, he sexually assaulted someone or something. I actually don't know the full story of that. But obviously, if that is true and you want to hate on them for that, go and hate on them for that. Fully understand if that is true, do it. But I personally wouldn't hate on her work because of that. It's not her fault if her son has gone out and done something as awful as that. Like, that sounds like I'm supporting that. I'm definitely not. It's disgusting if he did do that. But personally, I feel like her books are so unrelated to that. There is a lot of authors that have done a hell of a lot worse, and everyone just hates on her because it's a trend. I feel like people just hate on her so much. I don't know, I just feel like everyone just uses it as a trend. People started hating on her and then everyone just followed it. It even got to the point, I watched a TikTok the other day of a girl who went into a bookstore and turned around every single Colleen Hoover book and covered them up with other books. Like, does she affect you that much? I'm going to say that about any author. You could say it about Lucy Score, you could say it about Mia Sheridan, you could say it about Emily Henry. Like, even if you don't like their books, okay, don't read them then. Does it affect you that much that you have to go into a bookstore and hide all of their books? Like, it's not that deep. Who cares? Reading is meant to be fun. Reading is meant to be a happy community. We're meant to be discussing them together, ratings, reviews, doing buddy reads. It's meant to be a lovely, fun hobby. Just stop bringing hate into the community is all I can say. I just think it's so pointless and so stupid and, quite frankly, a little bit embarrassing. I mean, obviously, fair enough, if you're going to give an accurate, constructive criticism review, fine. But don't just make videos just being horrible on them. It's just embarrassing. I don't know, I just don't agree. I think it's just silly. Someone's put their life work into a book. It might not be your taste, but it might be someone else's favourite book. So you can't complain. I am exhausted after that rant. Jesus Christ. Last but not least though, it's the last one of this video. It is romance books should not exceed 400 pages. Completely agree, by the way. So obviously I just recently spoke about Lucy Score. So I read Things We Never Got Over a couple of months ago, I believe. I think it was in March. And I plan on reading Things We Hide From the Light and whatever the next one is. I know it's coming out later this year, but they're so long for no reason. I personally didn't find myself getting bored reading those books. However, they were a little bit more long-winded. So a fantasy book being 400 plus, give me that. I will eat that up because it's just amazing. And fantasy books, I feel like, need that amount to, you know, discuss everything and have exactly the right detail in the book. For example, I've just finished reading A Court of Mist and Fury and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I feel like it was perfect. The length of it was perfect. There was no excess, there was no minimum, you know, it was exactly how it should have been. But I feel like with romance books, there's like, I feel like 340 pages is where I draw the line of a good romance book, which is why I love Emily Henry's books, for example. That is all for today's video though. I am really sorry that I've just chatted your ears off for this long, and sorry if you don't agree with some of these opinions, but let me know your opinions down below of whether you disagree or agree with anything that I've discussed in today's video. But if you did enjoy it, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below and turn my little post notifications on because you will be notified every time I post a video. And I'll see you in my next one. Hope you enjoy.